Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Rainbow Children of the Light. Today, I want to talk about something that honestly feels so special to witness. And that's what parents often begin noticing after their child receives a children's rainbow recalibration session. Because while I absolutely love holding these sessions for children and families, one of the most beautiful parts for me is hearing from parents afterward. The messages that say they seem calmer, they're sleeping better, the house feels lighter, I finally feel like I understand my child. And honestly, that deeper understanding can change everything. Because so many parents come to me feeling exhausted, trying so hard to support their child, trying to help emotional outbursts, anxiety, overwhelm, sleep struggles, school resistance, and often feeling like they know there's something deeper going on beneath the surface, especially spiritual mums. You can find when your child is struggling emotionally or energetically, even when you can't fully explain it. And that's why I wanted to create this episode today. I want to share some of the shifts parents commonly notice after sessions because if you're listening and quietly thinking, this sounds like my child, I want you to know that you are absolutely not alone. And gentle support does exist. So, firstly, every child is completely unique. Every session unfolds differently, and every child's energetic and emotional needs are so different. There are definitely themes that come through again and again after sessions. One of the biggest things parents often notice is that their child feels calmer, not so shut down emotionally, and not quieter because they're suppressing their emotions or their feelings, but they're just calmer within themselves. Feeling more settled, more emotionally safe, less reactive. Like their nervous system can finally just soften a little bit, not always be so on guard. And, honestly, sensitive children, they're carrying around so much. Like, if you just listen to the previous episode, it was all about how children, sensitive children, absorb so much of the environment around them, all things that are not theirs. So, these children, they absorb emotions and energy from the people and the environments around them. And I see this during sessions. Children's systems are really open energetically. And while that openness is a part of their empathy and their intuition and their spiritual sensitivity and gift, it can also become overwhelming for them. I remember a little boy I worked with where I could feel just how overloaded his system had become. I saw this static, like fuzz sitting all through his energy field. And yeah, it didn't feel like his own energy. It felt like his nervous system and energetic system had become overloaded from everything he had been taking in from the world around him, like it was all static and fuzzy. And, honestly, I see this a lot with sensitive and neurodivergent children because they feel everything, their emotions around them, the tension around them, the energy around them. And when they don't yet know how to clear or process what they're absorbing, it can build and build within their system. After his session, his mum messaged me saying that he was, more calmer, more cooperative. Um, Life had become easier and he was even eating foods that he would usually refuse. And honestly, those are the kinds of shifts parents often begin noticing. And it's not perfection, not a completely different child overnight, though some do have big dramatic shifts. But some are just, feeling more ease. They have more energetic capacity. There's a lot more calm within the home because there's less conflict. There's more cooperation. And then another huge thing that parents often mention is sleep. This comes up constantly. So many sensitive children struggle to fully settle at night because their nervous systems are still processing the day. Sometimes their minds are busy, sometimes they're emotionally overloaded, sometimes energetically they're still carrying so much they've absorbed from everyone around them. And after sessions, parents often tell me They fell asleep easier, they seemed more settled at night, they slept through the night, they woke up calmer. And honestly, when children begin sleeping better, everything else begins to improve too. Because exhaustion, this exhausted nervous system struggles to regulate emotions. Even little things can suddenly feel enormous, which is when a child can be emotionally overloaded. Parents also often notice shifts emotionally. Sometimes children begin expressing themselves more openly. Sometimes they move through emotions faster instead of staying stuck in the overwhelm. Sometimes emotional explosions will be softer, and sometimes children simply just they seem lighter, more joyful, more themselves again. And honestly, one of the deepest things that these sessions often bring families is emotional clarity, stability. I recently received a message from a mum after a session for her son, and she shared that their family had been going through a very challenging time. She said that the healing felt incredibly accurate, deep, and clear, and that it touched her so profoundly it brought tears to her eyes. And honestly, I hear this quite often because when parents are carrying worry and confusion, emotional exhaustion, or feeling helpless watching their child struggle, being deeply seen and understood can feel incredibly healing in itself. Sometimes parents come into these sessions trying to make sense of behaviors, emotional overwhelm, anxiety, or struggles within the family dynamic. And what comes through during the healing and guidance often helps them finally connect the dots. And it's not from judgment or fear, but from a place of compassion and understanding and a deeper awareness of what the child is actually experiencing emotionally and energetically. And I think that's why so many parents leave these sessions feeling emotional, because often for the first time in a long time, they feel hope, they feel clarity, and they feel like they finally understand how to support their child in a deeper way. And something that else these parents often say after sessions is that they finally feel like they know how to support their child moving forward. I recently received a message from a parent whose family was navigating a big transition after moving house. She shared that the higher self guidance helped both her and her husband understand what their daughter needed emotionally during that transition. And what I loved was that she specifically said the guidance felt practical and actionable, that they could immediately begin implementing some of the suggestions within the home. And honestly, that's such a big part of this work for me, because while these sessions are deeply intuitive and energetic, they're also designed to support families in real life. Real emotions, real family dynamics, real nervous system overwhelm, real transitions. Sometimes what comes through during sessions is incredibly simple, but deeply supportive. Small changes that help a child feel safer emotionally, more understood, more supported within their environment. And often parents tell me that they feel relieved afterward, because instead of feeling lost or unsure of what to do next, they finally feel like they have clarity and direction. And honestly, when parents feel calmer and more empowered, children feel that too. And honestly, one of the biggest things parents say afterward is, I finally feel like someone understands what we've been going through. I recently received another beautiful message from a parent after a session that really stayed with me. She thanked me for such a comprehensive report and said it was incredibly relevant and spoke to so much of their family had been experiencing. What really touched me was that she shared the report with her husband, who was much less familiar with Reiki, angels, energy healing, and even with some of the, some healthy skepticism. She said he felt everything that came through was bang on, just to quote, and incredibly helpful. And honestly, that's such a huge part of this work for me, because these sessions aren't about, vague spiritual ideas. The guidance that comes through is often deeply practical, emotionally validating, and incredibly specific to what the child and family are actually navigating day to day. Parents often leave feeling clearer and more connected, like they finally understand what may be sitting underneath the behaviors and the emotions, the overwhelm their child has been experiencing. And when parents begin understanding their child differently, everything starts softening, more compassion comes in, more connection, more emotional safety within the home. And honestly, that understanding alone can be deeply healing for a family. Another thing parents often share is the whole house feels calmer. And I completely believe that because families are deeply energetically connected. When one child begins feeling safer emotionally and energetically, the ripple effects move through the whole entire household. Sibling conflict softens, mornings feel easier, parents feel less emotionally exhausted. There's simply more breathing space within the home. And often parents themselves begin feeling calmer too, because when the child has been struggling emotionally, you carry that around as a parent. You feel it deeply. So when things begin softening for your child, parents often feel relief too. And something I always explain is that healing continues integrating after the session. Energetic healing isn't always instant. Sometimes shifts happen immediately, and sometimes healing unfolds gently over the days and weeks as the nervous system and energetic system continue processing and recalibrating. The healing from a children's rainbow recalibration session can continue integrating for around 21 to 28 days afterward. During that time, parents may continue noticing subtle shifts emotionally, energetically, and behaviorally. Sometimes emotions release gradually, sometimes children need extra rest. Sometimes parents suddenly gain huge clarity around what their child has actually been experiencing emotionally beneath the surface. And honestly, one of the most emotionally messages I've received again and again is I finally feel like I understand my child more deeply. And truly, that's such a huge part of healing. Because children's rainbow recalibration is not about fixing children, it's about gently supporting sensitive children emotionally, energetic, and spiritually, while helping their parents feel more connected, empowered, and supported too. So, if you've been listening to this episode and thinking, this sounds exactly like my child, if you've been navigating emotional overwhelm, anxiety, sensitivity, emotional outbursts, sleep struggles, nervous system overload, or behaviors that feel bigger than the situation itself, Children's Rainbow Recalibration may be the gentle support your child and family have been needing. These sessions are designed to support sensitive children emotionally and energetically, while also helping their parent gain deeper clarity, understanding, and connection with their child. You can explore sessions through the show notes below, all the links are there. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with another spiritual mum who may need this message today. And come and join our beautiful Rainbow Children of the Light community, where you can continue on conversations around spiritual parenting and support of sensitive children. I'll see you in the next episode, beautiful souls, and sending you and your little ones so much love.